The reason is inventory is considered to be a critical asset. Why? Because without inventory, it is very difficult for any business to do the transactions. When we say, in the case of a trading company or a manufacturing company, inventory is the basic purpose of the business. Without this inventory, absolutely no question of. In the case of a trading company, you can't even sell. You buy inventory, sell inventory. In the case of manufacturing company, you buy inventory, convert one inventory into another inventory, which is called finished goods inventory. Then you are going to sell the inventory, realize the revenue. So inventory is the source of revenue for a trading company or a manufacturing company. I can't say all business houses. Business enterprises which are involved in the process of extending services. There is no place for the term inventory over there. But companies which predominantly do the trading or manufacturing and trading have to have inventory for the sake of generating the revenue. This is the reason inventory is considered to be a critical asset. Purpose of the business itself is inventory. Classifications for the inventory. One is raw material inventory, work in progress inventory, finished goods inventory. Two types of company classification just now we have seen. Trading company, manufacturing company. In the case of trading company, they would be having only finished goods inventory. There is no question of raw material or work in process. In the case of a manufacturing company, you buy raw material into finished product. So there is work which is in process. Semi-finished goods is what we are trying. Raw material, semi-finished goods, finished goods. All are considered as inventory in the corporate side. Understanding these three types of inventory, how this is going to give an impact in the business, we are going to look into this. Now, let me tell you whether it is raw material inventory or finished goods inventory. When you buy inventory, the accounting entry is inventory account is debited, cash account is credited. Normally in India, Anju, I am sure anybody who would have done any program in the country predominantly would be an accounting entry when you do purchases. We normally hear debit purchase account and credit supplier account or cash account depending upon the fact whether it is a credit purchase or a cash purchase. If it is cash, the cash account would be credited. If it is credit, supplier account would be credited. But we invariably debit purchase account. But if you consider the real face of accounting, reality of accounting, considering all the accounting concepts and conventions, debiting purchase account is not exactly right. You must be debiting only the inventory account. That's why American GAAP considers debiting inventory instead of debiting purchases. Why I say so? Purchase is an expense. It's a nominal account, nominal item. When you buy something, asset only comes. When you are buying certain goods, the goods are asset, it comes to you. When the asset comes, it has to be recorded as asset first. Then, when you sell these assets, only then the question of revenue comes. Only when the question of revenue comes, the corresponding expenses can be booked. So long as you are not selling, such item, whatever you have purchased, can be considered to be your inventory. When you sell, the status of the inventory changes and asset becomes expense. So only when there is a revenue, the expenses can be recognized. Till the time you generate the revenue, it will be recognized only as an asset. So that's the reason when you buy, when you purchase, The accounting entry will be inventory account debited, cash account credited. Hope it is clear. Whether it is raw material or finished goods material, when you are buying the raw material inventory, accounting entry will be raw material inventory account will be debited, cash account or supplier account will be credited. In the case of a trading company, when it buys the finished goods inventory, they would be debiting finished goods account, credit cash or supplier. This is the entry. When you sell customer account to sales account, immediately you will be passing one more entry. Cost of goods sold account debit to inventory account. So only when you sell, the inventory is converted, translated to be an expense. Otherwise, you can't do that. Now, there are certain goods which are considered as inventory. One is in transit goods. I will explain the concept of this in transit goods. The supplier has shipped the consignment. Suppose you are buying the consignment from Delhi. He has already shipped the consignment, it is on the road. It has not yet reached. It has left the supplier's premise, it has not come to you. It is in between. Such kind of goods are said to be in transit goods. These in transit goods basically during the phase of the year are not considered. But at the end of the year, say for example, on 31st of March or 30th of March, the supplier has shipped the consignment. Probably it will take another 5 days for it to receive. Supplier has already generated the invoice on 30th of March. Yes, shipped the consignment. Consignment is on its way from Delhi. It is on the road. In this case, you are going to close the books of accounts on 31st of March. On 31st of March, when you close the books of accounts, such in transit goods are to be accounted for in the books. Then such in transit goods are also considered to be part and parcel of inventory. This is point number one. Second is FOB shipping point, goods sent FOB, freight on board, shipping point. The seller of the goods gives these kind of goods to the shipping company. While the goods are in transit, they belong to the buyer. Why? Because suppose, say for example, you are selling the goods from here to another person in Malaysia or Singapore. You hand over the consignment to the shipper who is going to take it in the ship and transfer it. The person who is shipping, the agent, is always considered to be the agent of the buyer. Once you have handed over the consignment to the shipping agent or the shipping point, the seller's responsibility is over. You have transferred the title to the shipping agent, who is further the agent of the buyer. So, such kind of in-transit goods are to be accounted only by the buyer, not the seller. Seller has already sold, your inventory has been reduced. It can't be considered to be the inventory in the books of seller anyway. It has left the place premise. It is in the hands of the agent of the buyer. Then you are not bothered about it. Only the buyer will have to consider. That's what the point number 2 says. Point number 3. When such a consignment has been shipped at the end of the period, this should be included in the buyer's ending inventory, though the buyer may not have received it at the end of the period. That's what I have told you. From the seller's perspective, the goods consignment already left. He has transferred the title. He has already recognized it as revenue. He has handed over to the concerned personality, the agent. No way In this case, the seller is responsible, so seller cannot be held responsible for showing any entry in this case. The buyer will have to reflect. There is one more type. Goods and freight on board destination. This is freight on board shipping point. Shipping point is always seller's point. Freight on board destination will be customer's point. In this case, the goods, so long as it is reaching the customer, it belongs to the seller. Only when the buyer personally receives, it becomes the buyer's property. So in such cases, the transit goods will be reflected by the seller. It is not the buyer who is going to reflect. Are you clear now? I request you to go through these 3 points here and confirm that you are clear so that I can move on further. Which entry is not clear? I have not passed an entry here. Destination means customer's destination. Seller is selling. Seller has shipped the consignment, it is in transit. Buyer, in this case, if it is FOB destination, buyer will be responsible only if it is reaching the buyer's premise. So till the time such kind of goods reaches the buyer's premise, seller only will be held responsible. So such kind of goods are to be considered as inventory in the part of the seller. The previous case I have told you, it must be included as inventory in the part of the buyer. Here you have to show it as inventory in the part of the seller. That's the only difference. Now consignment, consigned goods. I will explain what is this consignment after all. You are in Delhi. You want to sell the business in Chennai. You don't want to do the business directly because you can't concentrate in two regions. But you want to do the business by yourself. So instead of you focusing the entire operations in Chennai, you are appointing an agent who is referred as the consignee. You will be hiring a warehouse in Chennai and will be transferring all the goods from Delhi to Chennai for the sake of doing the sales. Customers will be contacted by your agent. Sales orders will be picked up by the agent. Sales will be executed by the agent. Collections will be made by the agent. Entire money collected will be transferred to you in Delhi. So instead of you handling the consignment operations directly, you are appointing an agent. So to the agent, you transfer the goods. That is what is said to be consigned goods. So the consigned goods, you are transferring the goods from Delhi to Chennai. When the goods are reaching Chennai, immediately you cannot consider it as your revenue. The goods, though in Chennai, will be reflected only as inventory in the books of the consignor. The person who is sending the goods are referred to be consignor. Hope this is clear. The point here to be noted is ownership never transfers to the consignee when the goods are consigned, because he is only an agent. It is as good as you transfer something from left pocket to the right pocket. But in order to receive the goods, somebody would be appointed there. He is only an agent. So whatever he does is as good as you are doing it directly. So the ownership still remains with you. So you cannot consider it to be a different goods. Such kind of consigned goods, though it is located in a different location altogether, will be treated by the consignor in the books as inventory, closing inventory. Hope this is clear. Shall I proceed further? Let me explain the concept of goods out on approval. So I will explain with the help of an example. You would be knowing about a lot of air companies in the market like LG, Samsung, Blue Star, Voltas, Daikin, Lloyds. All these companies are famous. You are familiar with the product. Now, when the competition is so hectic in the market in terms of selling the air conditioners are concerned, I myself, a new company, new manufacturer of air conditioners comes into the market. Sharma air conditioners. I am trying to sell my product along with many. There are some 10 different air conditioning. They are competing. My product is something brand new. Other products are already literally themselves in the market or other way. Now I come to you. Anju Abraham or Arshul doesn't even know anything about this. Sharma, you are the decision making authority of one of the companies. You want to buy some 10 ACs. As the way so many sales executives would have come, I am also visiting your office, presenting about my AC. You said you have not even heard about this. I said this is one of the best product. It is comparable, or rather I can say is better than Daikin. Daikin is one of the world's the best air conditioners rather available. Or Blue Star, best air conditioner. Now I say this AC, Sharma AC is better than Blue Star or Daikin. And the price is also low. This is guaranteed. But you are not prepared to believe it. Because nobody has even tested. Nobody has used this. Name itself is not so encouraging. Sharma AC. Who will buy this? Now I have told you, Anju Abraham, do one thing. You are the decision making authority you want to buy. Do one thing. I will give you 5 AC or this 10 AC, whatever you require right now. You can take it. I will install it. You use this for another 30 days. In between, if you are not satisfied with the performance of this AC, you can send it back. I will accept. If you are happy about it, tell me within 30 days and pay me. If you are not happy, you can return it within 30 days. If after 30 days you don't even respond, you have not even rejected, then I will presume that you have accepted. You have to pay me the money. In this case, the most important point to be noted is, from my perspective, I am transferring the 10 AC to you, but I can't recognize it as my revenue. Why? Because it's not a confirmed sales. I don't know whether you will accept this or reject. You can either accept or reject within in a span of 30 days time. It can be considered to be a revenue for me only when you are accepting. Otherwise, always there is a possibility to reject in a span of 30 days time. So during the span of these 30 days, where we have not even confirmed anything about it, I will have to wait. I will have to wait. Literally, I will have to wait. So in this case, my inventory is right now available with a different customer. Such kind of goods which are sent out by the seller to customer, whereby the seller is not able to book it as revenue. The seller can consider it only to be the inventory available at the customer's premise. Such kind of a sale deal is referred as goods out on approval. Goods out. Recognizing it as revenue depends upon your approval. If you don't approve, I can't. I have to take it back. My inventory comes back. In this case, such inventory available at the customer's premise will be recorded by me as my own inventory. In my books, it is part of my ending inventory. I will be reflecting it as inventory lying at the customer's premise. Are you clear? So kindly go through these 4 points. This is again based upon whatever I had discussed. Now, next type of inventory is obsolete inventory. What is this obsolete inventory? Obsolete means inventory which cannot be even used. Outdated. And the CD, whatever we were using once upon a time, is outdated right now. Now everybody is using only the pen drive. We can even download everything from the mobile phones itself. So there is no question of any CDs coming into play a very vital role in the market. If say, for example, even now somebody is holding huge number of CD sets in their hands, the CD sets are considered to be obsolete in reality. Once upon a time, we used to keep VCRs and VCDs. Now we don't require such kind of an instrument. Even television itself is not required. So every piece of elements are becoming outdated. Such kind of outdated elements are said to be obsolete inventory. Basically, whenever obsolete inventory are found, it is written off as a loss. So this will not be part and parcel of your inventory once you are writing it off. Kindly go through these 3 points and confirm that it is clear. Fine. How do you value the inventory? What are the costs included? Let us cost finished goods. This product is finished goods. In the case of a manufacturing company, you incur a lot of cost and produce the final output. The product cost can be said to be the cost that are attached to each unit of inventory. Say finished goods inventory, every unit of inventory, this cost is attached. There is a cost. This includes basically the cost of the raw material and conversion cost. They are the costs which are directly incurred to bring the goods in and for a manufacturer to convert them into final output. That cost can be said to be product cost. So that cost include raw material cost, cost of the product, freight charges, other direct cost to acquire the product, production cost, labor cost, that is which includes labor cost, overhead cost, everything. Finally, when you produce the goods out, the entire costs are considered to be the cost of one unit. From the manufacturer side, it is very easy. It includes direct material, direct labor, manufacturing overheads. In the case of a trading company, it is only the purchase price. It's very simple. Kindly go through, understand, tell me that you are clear so that we can move on. Shall I proceed? See, you are purchasing and storing the inventory in the warehouse. There is a cost. Such costs are never considered to be the cost of the product. The cost of storage. It is very difficult for you to allocate to each and every finished goods units. Such costs are said to be period costs. Period cost can be said to be something incurred which are not directly related to acquiring an inventory or producing the goods, producing the inventory. Purely storage in nature. It includes general administrative expenses, selling cost, outgoing freight on shipments to the customers. All these things cannot be considered to be part and parcel of the production cost. That costs are said to be period cost. So period cost can never be considered as part and parcel of raw material inventory cost at any point of time. Read it, confirm. Now, what are the different inventory valuation methods? Basically, four methods normally you would be able to find, that is first in, first out, last in, first out, average cost, specific identification. Now, let me tell you, in India, we don't have this last in, first out entertained. Even the specific identification itself is also not specifically entertained. But last in, first out is not at all there. It is banned. We have only first in, first out and weighted average method. But America system of accounting still acknowledges the last in, first out method, LIFO. What are these methods? I am sure all of you would have learned about these methods, first in, first out, what is last in, first out, what is weighted average. Specific identification, I am sure you would not have heard about it. But the first three you would have heard. When we are learning US GAAP, we have to learn even last in, first out as well, because it is accepted. In India, yes, it's not. But in America, it is yes, accepted. So we are going to learn it. What does this first in, first out means? Very simple. This is a method of valuation of the closing inventory, ending inventory. We always presume that the inventory available at the end of a year comprises of the latest procured material. All the old materials are consumed first, and the closing inventory will be representing only the latest procured material. That concept is subscribed by first in, first out, FIFO. That is, whatever units which you are selling the customer is the earliest units purchased. Ending inventory will be comprising only of the latest procured material. Now, costs are increasing. So in a period of rising cost, FIFO will be beneficial for the company than before. When the costs are increasing, FIFO will bring higher value of closing inventory, which will be bringing down the cost of goods sold and increasing the. And this is not going to happen if the company is following FIFO. This difference definitely is important to be understood. Is it clear? Hello. The audio is not clear. Hold on. Is it okay now? Fine. So, you can ask me any clarifications if you want in this regard. Calculation, what you want to see it again? Wait, I'll show you. Wait, just hold on. Yeah, can you and confirm. Higher ending inventory means, say, for example, the value purchase price is 150 at the end of the year. At the beginning, the purchase price was only 100. So, if you are following FIFO and the closing inventory is 10,000, the value of the closing inventory will be at 150. This will be 15 lakhs. So, when this is 15, cost of goods sold will be only 90. Now, in contrary, if you are following LIFO, what is going to happen? Opening inventory will be 5. Purchases still will be 100. But your closing inventory will be, I will tell you, it is 10,000 multiplied by 100. Because ending inventory means closing inventory will be only 10 lakhs. In the case of LIFO, the closing inventory will be representing only the old inventory, old material. This will be equal to $95 higher cost of goods sold. This is what I have expressed earlier. Now confirm you are clear or not. Just confirm whether you are clear or not. Fine. Now let us proceed further. Graphical representation of whatever I have told you. When the ending inventory is high, cost of goods sold will be low, so profit will be increasing. This is just a graphical representation for the FIFO. If a company is following FIFO, this is how it looks like. Nothing special about it. This is just for a confirmation purpose. What are the advantages and disadvantages of applying first in, first out method? I request you to kindly go through the benefits and the limitation and confirm that you are clear so that I can move on further. Kindly slowly go through each and every point. Be clear that you are understanding and confirm, please. Fine. Now you kindly go through this paragraph. It is very simple. This is just reverse of what we have learned regarding the FIFO. Just opposite, even though I have explained this LIFO, uh, probably these four columns would be giving you much more clarity regarding LIFO. Kindly go through. Point number three is what I have explained earlier. Kindly read, confirm. The graphical representation of LIFO. Ending inventory will be low, cost of goods sold will be high. This is just a reverse of the graph regarding the FIFO, just for your understanding. Now I request you to kindly go through the advantages and disadvantages of last in first out method. Kindly read and confirm. There is no need to explain anything further in this regard. That's why I'm asking you to kindly go through. Once you go through, read. Enough. Confirm this. Fine. What is this average cost? We normally refer it as a weighted average cost. This average cost will be creating a balance between FIFO and LIFO. There is neither last in first out, not first in first out. That means the cost of this inventory in the case of FIFO, it will be purely based upon latest price. In the case of LIFO, it is purely based upon the oldest price. But average cost, you are going to take the average. How you are going to take the average? This is very important to be understood. I'll show you with the help of an example. Kindly listen. Calculations are a bit important here. How do you apply the weighted average cost? I'll take an example. So January 1. Opening 100 numbers. The value is 10,000. January 5. You are buying 500 numbers. Kannada rupee. 60,000. So, closing inventory on January 5 will be 600 numbers. There will be 70,000. And the average price is going to be $116.67. This is the cost of the closing inventory. Now, on January 10, you are selling out of the 600, say 400 numbers you have sold. The cost of this good sold in this case will be 116.67. So that will be multiplied by 400 will be equal to 46,667. This is going to be the value of closing inventory. Now, on January 20th, you are again buying it another 600 numbers. So on January 10th, the closing inventory will be 600 minus 400, which is 200. The closing inventory will be having the same rate, no change in this regard. So that will be 200 multiplied by 116.67, which is equal to 23,333. Now let us see what is happening. On January 20th, you are again buying another 600 numbers and the price is 130. So here the total value will be 600 multiplied by 130, which is equal to 78,000. So as on January 20th, the closing inventory will be 200 plus 8, 600, which is 800, and this value will be 78,000 plus 23,333, which is equal to 1,01,330. This divided by 800 will be the average price, which is equal to 127.67. 127.67. Now let us see what is happening. On January 25 or January 25, when you assume that you are going to sell out of this another 700 numbers you are going to sell. Bracket represents goods sold. The cost of this goods sold will be equal to dollar 126.67. So that will be 126.67. Sorry, 126.67 multiplied by 700 will be 8866. That is 88,670. This is the figure. Now closing inventory in this case will be 100 numbers at same average price, which is 126.67. Sorry, 126.67, which is equal to say 101,333 minus 88,670, which is 12,663. This is how you track the inventory value in the case of average cost, weighted average. This is why that's the reason we are saying this as weighted average cost, because this weighted average cost will be having the representation of opening price and the latest price. You cannot say that the closing inventory comprises only of the latest price. There is an impact of even the opening price will be there, even the closing inventory's valuation. This is how you do value the inventory in the case of a weighted average method. Any doubt, you can ask me. So now I'll move on. This is nothing but whatever we have discussed. I was discussing about the effect on the ending inventory. What is going to happen to the cost of goods sold? What is going to happen to the gross profit? When the prices are rising and the prices are falling, what is going to happen in the case of FIFO and LIFO? I request you to kindly go through this. Kindly go through, confirm. These are all repetitive points. We are giving you a lot of repetition so that you can store these points in your brain very clearly. You should not forget. When the question comes, it must be possible for you to simply work out and throw the answers. So request you to kindly go through, be clear, confirm so that we can move on further. Anyway, leave these points. I'll come back to you. Let us understand the systems of inventory. There are two systems of inventory. We have not understood the basic inventory system. I will come back to you regarding the implication. One is periodic inventory system, perpetual inventory system. Two systems of inventory which are followed practically in many corporates. Basically speaking, the best out of these two systems applicable practically is perpetual system because this has a better sense than the periodical system. I will tell you what is this periodical system. Inventory management literally is happening only at the end of a specific period. That's what SLE communicates. Means either every month, every year, once a quarter, once in 6 months. You are going to check whether the inventory, physical balance, everything is correct or not. In between, if anything happens, it wouldn't be possible for the company to check what exactly is the reason for the differences. Very difficult. There could be some theft, there could be some other missing items. In between happen between this 1 year period or 3 months period or 1 month period, depending upon the transaction, you may not be even able to find out what exactly happened because you don't have control. You are trying to exercise control only at the end of a period. So, for example, my children, I ask them questions only after 6 months, once in 6 months. I'm not bothered whatever exactly they are doing in between 6 months' time. Can I take such a strategy to take care of my children? No way. There should be a continuous touch with my children on a daily basis. In a similar manner, the periodical inventory system communicates that the inventory will be looked into only at the end of a year or only after the end of a specific period. In between, you are not going to bother it. So, because of this reason, there is a lethargicity which is creeping into the system. Because of this reason, we don't appreciate practically. Many corporates are not interested to apply the periodical system. More than that, for the sake of doing the physical check, physical inventory, shut down the business for another 3 4 days time. Only then you can do the physical inventory, do tally with the books, and carry on with your further operations. It won't be possible for to shut down the sales operation for 2 3 days for many companies. You would be losing the sales every day. So periodical systems are never appreciable. What is perpetual system? This is just opposite of periodical system. Perpetual system ensures that there is an inventory management control which is exercised at each moment of every transaction. That means whenever the new inventory comes in and the inventory goes out, you will immediately update the register, physically cross check and see that the register and the physical balances are tallying in all respects. So you don't have to do a thorough physical check at the end of the year because you are doing it on a daily basis. There is no need to suspend the business. Better control are exercised because you are going to control on a momentary basis. You can avoid any missing items, you can avoid any losses. Surprise losses can be avoided. If at all any losses arising, you can easily find out who would have taken, who would have done, who has stolen. Any missing elements can be found out tracked very easily. So the losses can be reduced to a great extent because of the reason. Many corporates would be applying only the perpetual inventory system. So this is going to provide a more accurate reflection of inventory transactions. Hope this is clear. Shall I proceed? In the case of a periodic system, if you are applying before, of course, chronologically the costs are going to be charged. What is chronology? Earlier, charged first. Latest will be still remaining. Same. The same thing I have discussed earlier. Beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending inventory. That is what is going to be cost of goods sold. If you apply the FIFO in the periodical system, the same thing. You can read and take a confirmation. Hello. Fine. How FIFO is going to be applicable in perpetual system? There is not a great difference you would be able to find in the case of perpetual or periodical system so far as FIFO is concerned. Because inventory numbers and the valuations are going to be one and same. But what about LIFO? Here the same thing. Opening inventory purchases, closing inventory will be representing the oldest item, so the oldest value will be applied. System. So these points I have already discussed, so you can go through. Same points getting repeated. Regarding the weighted average, the 2 points represents the calculation whatever I have shown just now. The example I have shown. Cost of the goods is divided by the total number of units available so that you will be getting the average cost. This is how you compute the average cost. Absolutely. See, this is an example. Again, the same example I have shown you sometimes back, but I want you to go through this example as well so that you will be clear. On August 1st, there is a beginning inventory 600 units, $5. August and you are selling 400 units out of this. Then you are purchasing 1600 units, selling 1000 units, then purchasing another 1000 units. Value is different. How you are going to apply the moving average? In the case of a FIFO, how it is going to be? Here, opening inventory 600 minus 400, 200. Then you are purchasing 1600 is 1800. You are selling 1000, so balance inventory will be 800. Again, you are purchasing 1000, it will be 1800. Selling 600, so the balance would be 1200. So 600 plus 400, sorry, 600 minus 400, 200 plus 1600 will be 1800, minus 1000 will be 800, plus 1000 will be 1800 again, minus 600 will be 1200. I think there is a mistake. Before the closing inventory is actually 1200. This 1200 inventory represents 1000 units out of this August 20 purchases, that is 6.5, and purchased on August 11. So 1000 units at 6.5 and 200 units at 6 rupees. $6. That is what exactly going to give you the price. 6.5 and 6. 7,700. This is the valuation of FIFO. Are you clear here? Are you clear? Yeah. When I'm giving you a small homework, I just want you to do this on LIFO basis and weighted average method. The same thing. Same question. I think tomorrow when you receive this record, you will note down this question. Take down FIFO I have told you. I want you to work out if it is LIFO, how the closing value will be. If it is average weighted average, moving weighted average method, how the closing value will be. There is an exercise which I am giving you. Please do this. Small exercise. Because I have discussed how the moving weighted average need to be computed. Hope you can take it up. Right? Excuse me, please. Hello. So we will wrap up the session for the day. I will catch you tomorrow. Not tomorrow, in fact, day after tomorrow.